home. Tonight's Webster Town Board meeting is pretty much a first, I think. We are doing a COVID-19 social distanced town board meeting. So I would like everybody to be patient with us as we work out the kinks. One of the kinks being that some of our board members are calling into this meeting, and if those board members could mute their phones, I would appreciate that. In attendance tonight in the boardroom is John Cahill and myself on the board, and John is probably, I don't think I could throw a football to John. My shoulder's pretty shot at 55 years old.
Even when you were a teenager, you couldn't have made it here.
I think I could have made it to you, John, by then. I certainly can't make it to Charlie Genesi, our town attorney, who is sitting across the room. Might be able to make it to you, Jeff Benway, Department of Public Works Commissioner, but and then Joe Herbst, our Highway Department Superintendent, is also here. For anybody that's ever been in the town boardroom, the five of us are spread out to the point where I think that there's probably a good 25 to 30 feet in between each one of us. Attending by teleconference call-in tonight is Councilwoman and Deputy Supervisor Patty Cataldi, Councilman Bill Abbott, and Councilman Barry Dean. And I'm somewhat jealous of them. They're in the comforts, hopefully, of their own homes, but ready to participate, I'm sure, actively in this board meeting. We also have Town Clerk Barbara Ottenscott is joining us from what I assume is her home. And we may have another call-in in the form of Paul Adams, our Finance Director. So that gives you a little layout for how we're going to do this meeting. And with that being said, let's commence the meeting. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Okay, like I said, gang, we're going to work out the kinks. And I want to thank the board members who are calling in for doing the Pledge of Allegiance. I wonder if they have a little flag in their family room to do it, or they just visualized it in their head.
I do.
I bet you do. I bet you do. All right. Well, the first order is that we have the minutes from the town board meeting on March 19th.
Roll call.
Oh, no, that's right. Thank you. Thank you. I can hardly hear you because you're so far across the room, Councilman Cahill, but you're right. I should put my reading glasses on. Town Clerk Barbara Ottenscott, could you please do roll call for us?
Certainly. Councilman Cahill?
Present.
Attorney Genesi?
Present.
Councilman Dean? Here. Councilwoman Cataldi? Present. Councilman Abbott? Here. Supervisor Flaherty?
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Okay. Our first order of business, we have the March 19th Town Board meetings minutes to be considered for approval.
I would move that we approve the March 19th, 2020 minutes as submitted by the town clerk.
I'll second that.
Second. I'm going to have to ask who did that second.
John Cahill.
Bill. Okay, thank you, Councilman Abbott. Councilwoman Cataldi? Aye. Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Dean? Aye. Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye. And we also have the meeting from 2 weeks ago, the April 2nd, 2020 board minutes to be considered for approval. And I make a motion to approve those minutes.
Second.
Second. Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi? Aye. Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
All right. Okay, the next order of business, well, first of all, I have to say that I think our Director of Communications in the town of Webster, Karen Buck, has done an unbelievable job in the last 4 to 6 weeks, in conjunction actually with Steve Peace, our IT Director, in navigating this town, in getting our employees to be able to work remote, and also in putting us in a position to do these meetings. We're one of the few towns that televises our town board meetings, and without getting into a lot of detail, that adds a level of complexity to doing a remote town board meeting that many towns don't have. So I just want to thank them for that, and the taxpayers should know we're doing that on a shoestring budget that most private corporations would have a lot more resources to be able to accomplish this. So it's pretty admirable. So with that being said, Councilman Cahill, were you in for the bills today, or was that Councilwoman?
Sat 8 feet away from me in the board.
That was you?
Yeah, that was
Okay.
me, absolutely. So I did review the bills, and I found everything to be in order, and I would move that we approve the bills as submitted by the Director of Finance.
I'd second that.
Councilman Cahill? Oh,
Aye.
did Supervisor Flaherty do that?
Yes.
Sorry, I missed it. Okay. Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi? Aye. Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Tom?
Yes, sir.
It's tough to hear John when he speaks.
How's this?
Was that better, Barry?
Very good.
Hello? Is that better?
A little better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I hope the viewing audience doesn't think we're yelling at each other if we have to talk loud. I also would submit that we approve like resolution for the prepaid warrants as submitted by the Director of Finance.
Second. Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Was that Councilman Abbott?
Yes, it was.
Thank
Aye.
you. Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi? Aye. Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Okay, Paul Adams, are you on the line?
I am on the line.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure you're there. I do want to say that really what we just did as far as approving paying the bills and the prepaid tax warrants is probably the main functional reason why we have to have the town board meet. Certainly all the other things we do with resolutions are important, but I don't think a lot of people outside of the government, the citizens, understand that those bills and the distribution out of the monies that's from their tax money can't be done unless the 5-person board approves it. And the way it revolves around the board members to review those bills every couple of weeks to make sure that they are they're proper and they meet the budget and all of those things. So it's actually quite a very tight checks and balances system. And if we didn't have it that way, we could potentially button up the shop and not meet as a board for 4 or 6 weeks until this all blew over. But that's the main reason. So with that being said,
I agree.
thank you very much, Paul. That's something you taught me, I think.
That's right. That was one of the first questions I taught.
Paul, you had sent over to the board, I think last week, a couple of revisions to the procurement policy in place at the town and also to the investment policy. Could you describe the change that we're making to the procurement policy?
Sure. A while back, the town code was amended to include something called best value procurement, which allows the town to make purchases on various criteria, including price, but also including other criteria. Which might include, the quality of product, the expertise of the vendor, and various other items. So, the best value procurement option was never built into the procurement policy. So, I'm proposing to amend guideline 5 to include best value procurement. And this would only be allowed for standard purchases. It would not be allowed for public works contracts. New York State does not allow it to be used for public works. So I would like it included in the policy. I think from time to time there is a good use for it. And I just wanted to get it out there and make it part of the town's policy so that we could have the option to use it in the future. And the other change,
Well, actually, before you get into the investment policy, we'll vote on this procurement policy after if there's any questions from any of the
I was
board
just going
members.
to say that guideline 11 changed also because we just updated a couple of names on the list of people that are authorized to sign off on purchase orders. And Tom, I think you were one change, and Chris Milo will be our new Commissioner of Public Works. Parks and Recreation was the other one.
Right.
Any
So, Paul,
questions on that?
I just wanted to thank you for your work on that. I really appreciate you looking at all these things and updating them when necessary. So I would make a motion, I'd make a motion to approve the revised procurement policy as presented by the Director of Finance.
Second.
Councilman Cataldi? Aye. Councilman Abbott?
No, I think that was Councilman Dean.
Oh, thank you. Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye. And then, Paul, if you can also explain the next resolution as far as the revision of the investment policy.
Yeah, proposing that we, the investment policy contains a list of banks and other investment options, and it sets dollar limits that may invest with each one. And I'm just proposing that we amend the amount that we can invest with New York class to $25 million. It had previously been $15 million. So I'm just asking that it be updated to 25. And Wilmington Trust to change that from 15 million to 20 million. About 2 or 3 weeks ago, in the midst of the pandemic, the federal government cut interest rates by about 1.5% within just a few day period. So we had been earning about 1.5, 1.6% on Treasury bills. So that basically went to zero. So I think with these couple of changes, it'll give the town a little more flexibility. New York class actually operates like a mutual fund. It has some long-term investments in Treasury bills and Treasury notes. So they're actually still paying a decent rate. Our rate through Wilmington on Treasury bills right now is only 0.10, 0.1%. But through New York class, they're still paying about 0.80%. And that's because they have some long-term investments in T-bills and T-notes. So I just thought it would be in the best interest of the town to maybe move a little more money to New York class. And
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'd like to move that we approve the revised investment policy as presented by the Director of Finance.
I'll second that.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi? Aye. Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye. And Paul, as usual, thank you for giving a very good explanation, layman term explanation also of finance and accounting and investment items. You know, the one thing that was very glaring to me a couple months ago when I came in and met Paul and we went over the finances of the town, and we struck an accord pretty quick since I come from an accounting background, is that the town really is somewhat hamstrung on where they can put their fund balance and monies that are sitting aside, not being used for today's bills. It's not as though Paul or the board can go out and buy C-rated bonds that are high risk but high return. It just doesn't work that way. So Paul has it is very safe, but I think we've seen how Paul has really somewhat maximized that as best he can, and this is just another move within that. So before COVID hit, Paul and I had met with a firm that we might be talking to the board about in the future that consults municipalities and basically pays for themselves as far as in the increased earnings that they get us. Is that essentially what they pitched to us, Paul?
Yes, that's correct. And it'll be interesting to see how they plan to go about it now that interest rates have dropped.
Yeah, because I think Paul and I both were a little incredulous, but we're like, okay, well, we're listening, but we haven't gotten to the second meeting.
No.
So.
We'll have them in for a workshop at some point.
Yep, absolutely. So
Virtually.
all righty. Yes. So moving along here, just to let everybody know, for people that are watching on TV at home, obviously there's nobody from the public in the room based on the executive orders, one of, I think, the 17 that the governor has done in the last 3 weeks. But as we conclude tonight, which probably will be around 8 o'clock, the formal presentation, that certainly anybody who wants to call in to 872-7011, or anybody that would like to email in to my email address, supervisor@ci.webster.ny.us. I have my laptop here. We will read off what questions or whatever comes in from the citizens, and we'll go over them. Then, if you call in, we can only take one call at a time, obviously. I'm not a switchboard operator here. So, moving along. Now, town clerk, Barb Scott, taught me early on it might not be in the best structure to have me propose as the supervisor a resolution that is going to have me as the supervisor sign a contract. Is that correct, Barb?
That's correct. It's not really right for you to authorize yourself to do things.
I guess. I guess at least in town government it isn't, right? I mean, you know.
That's what we learn in town clerk school.
Is that what you learn? Okay. But this next resolution, Jeff, as Department of Public Works Commissioner, can you explain a little bit?
Absolutely. The town did receive some money for sidewalks from the state, and we opened some bids and had 2 bidders interested in doing it. The purpose of this resolution is to hire Birchcrest Tree and Landscaping for removal of trees along Ridge Road. The reason why we're trying to move this up is because of the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation has very strict limits on when you can cut down trees because of the long-eared bat. So to get in the month of April to take the trees down so we don't disturb the bats, we need to move quickly on tree removals.
You can't make this up.
It's as true as the day is long.
So we have long-eared bats?
Yes.
Well, you know.
Somebody didn't mute. Somebody didn't mute.
You know,
So where are the short-eared bats?
They got eaten by the long-eared bats, I guess.
Here we go.
right. Yeah, I think everybody's a little bit off the last couple of weeks, aren't they? Yeah, I mean, okay, thank you, Councilman Dean. You've brought levity as usual to the meeting. Interestingly enough, not to get too far ahead, because I know there's another resolution later on that has to do with engineering surrounding the project up on Ridge Road, because this is tied to the sidewalk.
This is,
The-
yes.
Right. And,
Jeff, how many trees are we talking?
About 20.
Okay.
They're small. We just gotta cut it, they just have to cut them off at the grade, because when the excavators come in,
Right,
they'll just rip
right.
up the roots.
okay. And the resolution basically has here that those 20 trees, it's a $7,400.
7440 is
Yeah,
the bid.
$7,440
Correct.
Contract, so.
And this
Attorney
contract is-
Jesse, I mean, we could have somebody read this whole resolution, or?
I don't think that's necessary, Mr.
Boy,
Supervisor.
am I glad you said that, Attorney Genesi, because,
So I would move that we authorize the town supervisor to award a contract with Birch Crest Tree and Landscaping for tree removal along the Ridge Road Multimodal Corridor Improvement Project, for a fee not to exceed $7,440.
Second.
Councilwoman Cataldi? Aye. Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty?
aye.
If I could possibly add something to that discussion now that we've passed the resolution, you know, people get really upset when they see trees coming down in town. And, excuse me, I'm sorry, we always hear that there's comments. It might be a good idea if we move forward with this project that we put something out on our website and perhaps social media about why these trees are coming down when it starts to happen.
That'd be fine.
Excellent idea.
Good idea.
Patty, because, you know, obviously, the trees are coming down because we're putting in sidewalks, which is another thing that I think, from what I've learned in 3 short months, is something that the town board gets approached on a lot by the citizens of the town. And, you know, as I learned as a kid, you can't make an omelet unless you break some eggs, and unfortunately, if we're gonna put those sidewalks in, some of those trees have to come down to do that. So, thank you, Patty, and that's, we'll get with Karen on that. It's a great idea. Okay, well, now we move into some items that were tabled in the last meeting. And the first one is a resolution to consider a license agreement to install a fence through a 6-foot easement at 502 Lake Road. We were waiting on a letter from the neighbor okaying this. The letter has come in.
We have received, this is Wahidi's letter. She's no problem with providing that, her neighbor to use that additional land. And we're ready to move forward.
Well, I propose a resolution to licensing agreement to install the fence for the 6-foot easement at 502 Lake Road.
I'll second that motion.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
You know, it's good that we put the brain power in this room or on the phone because Highway Superintendent Herbst says we should just clarify what type of easement that is.
Thank you.
It's an access and water easement
Okay.
that was granted to
A
the
water easement?
access and water easement.
That was filed in
I'm sorry, I can't hear
1938.
1938, a filing of an access and water easement.
Okay, thank you.
The year of your birth there, Tom, wasn't it?
Just in case people believe rumors, fake news is that I am older than Councilman Cahill. That is fake news. Our next tabled item, and we are going, no, actually, the next table item is a proposed resolution for the Webster Town Board to authorize me, as the Webster Supervisor, to award a contract to Barton and LaJudas DPC for an existing term agreement for engineering services related to the Resiliency and Economic Development Initiative, READY. This is the state grant funds for the water levels. And I think the reason why we tabled it at the last meeting is we didn't have the specifics.
Dollar amounts, yes.
Yeah. And I know, Barbara, that you say that I should not propose a resolution that I am the person signing it, but I think the key parts of this resolution is that, first of all, the town of Webster has been awarded by the state $2,826,600 for this project. Now, it is comprised of 5 different components. And Jeff, if you want to describe the components?
Yes, some lake road improvements to address the flooding problems, improvements to the wastewater pump station and the decommissioning of the water wells along Lake Road, some road improvements through the Sandbar Park area of the Sandbar area, and the West Webster Fire Department is putting in a new floating dock that they need. And then we're just recently awarded additional funds through wastewater pump station improvements for the county, which is right next to our pump station. So it makes sense that we work together on this project.
Yeah. And interestingly enough, Barton Judas, is the engineer, has submitted an estimate for the engineering services of $353,900. So I would imagine as we propose, when we do this resolution, it's for a dollar amount not to exceed that.
Correct.
And just for my edification, the $353,900 is encompassed in the total project of $2,826,600. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So for all of people watching who have young kids, high school kids, you may want to think about your kid going to college for engineering.
Question for you regarding the numbers. On my resolution, the copy I have states that whereas the town of Webster was awarded $1,480,000 for the project, and whereas Barton and LaJudas submitted an engineering estimate of $281,000.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem to match up to the numbers you just read off.
Right. Earlier today,
It was corrected
you sent it
this
out.
morning.
Did you send it out as an email to the board?
To everybody.
Okay.
Oh, so I don't have the latest copy in my
Sorry.
folder.
Correct.
Correct. It was an email. Now, but I'm glad you brought it up, John, because what is the how did the first numbers come out? Was it just not adding up all 5 components of the project? Or
as some of the money, yes, it wasn't all added in. And then we had the additional one for the county, so it brought it back up a little more.
Okay. These dollar amounts in this proposed resolution are the aggregate of all the projects that come under the READY program.
Correct.
Okay.
And
What was that
includes-
number again, the total, please? Jeff?
I think it was 353.9. Does that sound right, Jeff?
353.9, correct.
And the total award is $2,826,600.
600.
And I think the
So should
town,
that be the amount in our resolution?
Yes,
Barbara, I have one here in my folder that has those numbers.
Okay.
Perhaps, Mr. Supervisor, if, I hate to have you do this, but perhaps it's a short resolution, and because of the changes in the numbers, it might be worthwhile to read this one.
I concur, Charlie.
Or,
I agree.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, well, Barbara, you know what? I'm reading a resolution that is for me to ultimately sign a contract, so you can, one demerit.
I'm okay with it. We're getting money.
Well, that's true. Before I do read it, just for, and for everybody who's been following along on this, this is really something that has been in workshops, at town board meetings. We had a February 27th, before COVID hit, we had a public meeting at Webster Thomas High School. Over 200 people attended to talk about the water levels rising, and there was a lot of talk about this READY grant and the components of it for the town. Along with that, is the 2.826 million, is that what we're getting from the state, and then the town has to kick in 5%?
correct.
So the town's on the nut for about $140,000 for the whole
The
project.
28266 is the award amount,
Right.
and then we have to kick in our 5% of, into that, or comes out of that.
You said that
Yeah.
the 2,826,000, that included the county's, project. Is that true?
Yes,
So why would we be kicking in a percentage of the county's project?
because they're just giving us the money for that award. How we use it,
Right, but they're part of that 2.826 million.
maybe I can assist in answering this. This is what Mr. Benway and I worked on I believe it was last November. And the requirement was that the town, I think, be basically I don't want to say lead agent because that refers to seeker, but we were basically the lead applicant. And I think they required the town to be the lead applicant, so we were the applicant for this. And I believe the village is in on some of this money
Yes.
too as well.
the well decommissioning goes to some of that money goes to the village.
Right. But we were the main applicant, in other words.
Right.
So yes, there are various parts of the READY grant that is going to be shared by the county and the village. They would have to pay for some of it as
So
well.
whatever their portion is, they would pay
5% or whatever it is, correct.
Okay, all right. Just want to clarify that.
But they get the benefit of us basically doing the legwork and the paperwork.
We're the project managers, essentially.
Correct.
Yes, and we had a workshop meeting here where the fire department, when we were trying to figure out where the location of the dock was going to be, that 5% on that portion is coming from the fire department's
Right.
money. So there's really, Charlie, there's three other, if you want to call it municipalities, that are going to have to kick in on this: the village of Webster, the county, and the fire
Fire district,
right.
That's West Webster, yeah.
Do we have an MOU with the village regarding,
I have seen a draft. I don't know if that's been formalized yet, Charlie.
No.
Okay.
I think we did send, well, I take it back. I think we did send out a memo of understanding way back when.
Yes.
When I say way back when, in around the time that we made the application, yes.
Well, and John, I don't want to assume I know where you're going with this, asking about having the MOU already in place. The thing that makes me most feel comfortable about this, as I've gotten to understand it, is that, you know, to me, I always think possession's 9/10 of the law. I'd rather be holding the money than asking for the money.
Well, sure, I understand that, but I know
Going through the town.
Right.
And the county isn't gonna get any of that, and nor the village or whatever.
Right.
Until,
Without that.
you know, so they will fall in line.
Right, we have been
Is that the
communicating with
best way to
them.
explain? Yes.
So we have been,
Legal term, Jeff?
through your office, Jeff, you communicated with the mayor.
Yes.
You have communicated with him.
Him and Jake were the two people I dealt with the most.
Okay, because I know before you had been working with just Jake, and the board had a conversation that we felt it was appropriate and important that you communicate with the mayor, and then he in turn would communicate with his appropriate department head.
Department heads.
So I just wanted to confirm that you are doing that.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
And before I read off this resolution, and it's just something that I must have a blank spot in my head on this, is the total of the projects 2.826600, and from that, we're gonna get 95% of it from the state, and we have to, or the
Correct.
municipalities kick in 5% of that, or are we getting 2.826 million from the state, and then we're kicking in 5% above that?
The total award is the 2.826, and then we take, our share is the 5% out of that. So we had to cover 5% of that number.
So the state will be giving us a grant of 95% of that number.
Correct.
I got it. Okay, then without further ado, resolution of the Webster Town Board authorizing the Town of Webster Supervisor to award a contract with Barton & LaJudas PLLC from an existing term agreement for engineering services related to the Resiliency and Economic Development Initiative, i.e. READY. At a regular meeting of the Town Board of the Town of Webster, Monroe County, New York, held at the Town Hall, 1002 Ridge Road, Town of Webster, New York, on the 16th day of April 2020 at 7:30 p.m. There were present Supervisor Thomas J. Flaherty, Councilwoman Patricia T. Cataldi, Councilman William G. Abbott, Councilman Barry A. Dean, and Councilman John J. Kale. The following resolution was offered by the town supervisor and moved for adoption. Whereas the Town of Webster, the town received 4 READY Fund projects located in the Town of Webster, Monroe County, New York, and whereas the project includes the READY Lake Road Infrastructure Improvements Project, the West Webster Fire Department's Docks Project, the Lake Road Sanitary Pump Station Improvements Project, and the Lake Road Well Decommissioning Project, i.e. the projects, and whereas the Town of Webster was awarded $2,826,600 for the project, and whereas the Town of Webster wishes to engage Barton & LaJudas PLLC to complete the engineering services for the project awarded by the state of New York, and whereas the READY funds were required to be fast-tracked to address resiliency efforts to protect valuable assets along Lake Road and the Sandbar Park, and whereas the Town of Webster has an existing term agreement with Barton & LaJudas PLLC to provide professional engineering services, and whereas Barton & LaJudas PLLC submitted an estimate for the engineering services of $353,900, and now, therefore, be it resolved that the supervisor of the town board hereby is authorized to sign a contract for the engineering services with Barton & LaJudas PLLC, and be it further resolved that the supervisor of the Town of Webster and the town board, together with the Town of Webster attorney and Barton & LaJudas, hereby authorized to take all actions, serve all notices, and complete all documents required to give full force and effect to this termination.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Dean,
Aye.
Councilman Cahill.
Aye.
Okay, I just really quick want to say that before we get to the last of the tabled items, unfortunately, COVID-19 has, put us behind on a few things. My twice-a-week sessions that I was going to do with Councilman Abbott to teach me to be more succinct, we haven't been able to do that. So we're already about 9 minutes over what I assumed was going to be the done time, and I apologize for that, Bill. But some of it's John Cahill's fault.
We're about to go 15,
Oh,
so.
you think so?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so
And that's
we
not Councilman
talked
Abbott's fault.
earlier and resolved for a $7,440 contract to remove trees, so we could install sidewalks up on Ridge Road. Sidewalks, one word, 2 words, whatever sidewalks is a hot button word in this town. The residents should be very happy that this board, and long before I got here, worked hard to get this sidewalk grant. So, Jeff, can you explain the resolution we're about to do for engineering services again?
The New York State Department of Transportation requires full-time inspection for all of their construction projects. For this to proceed, Barton LaJudas has already done the engineering, so it makes sense to continue their services because of their familiarity with the project. The construction inspection, it was estimated to be $145,000 for roughly a 4-month contract. If it comes in shorter, it will be less money, obviously.
Yeah.
But again, we want to get this project moving quickly once we can award the contract and get this working on.
And Barry?
Yeah, I have a question. Have we accepted any of the bids?
That is the $64 question, right? And it's a
Because
great
if
one,
we have
Barry.
not accepted a bid, how can we be rewarding a contract for services on a project that we haven't okayed?
It's a valid question. Charlie, I'll look to you for the legal aspect of this. I guess, the non-legal from my perspective was, one of the reasons we're having the workshop next week is the board really needs to discuss the 2 bids that we did get, that we opened on March 31st. And I think the low bid was still, base bid was over by $70,000.
That's correct.
And the board is going to have to, we're going to have to have a discussion, especially in the light of COVID-19. Do we revise the parameters of the project and take that bid, I guess, less 70, I don't know.
Well, I get, Mr. Supervisor, I think I guess I direct this to Mr. Benway, but they're basically 2 different matters, aren't they? One is the inspection and the overseeing of the construction.
Should we go ahead with the project, this would cover the construction
Right, so,
inspection
obviously, if we
services.
don't,
If we don't go ahead with it, there's no reason
yes,
to pay them any
so
money.
this would be conditional upon us having a proper and acceptable bid. So, I think what Mr. Benway's doing is getting somebody lined up to do the inspection, because that's required by the state and giving us the grant. So this is a, I know you love Latin, sine qua non of the bid process here.
Yeah. No. Charlie, thank you.
I'm smiling behind the mask.
Right, and as long as because the reality is, and it'll be an interesting conversation for the board, is we're trying to predict the future in a lot of ways of what COVID-19 is going to do. If we decided to say, hey, let's go back into the bid process in a month, do we think that when the world opens back up that contractors will be starving for work and we'll get better bids, or is it going to be the exact other way around? Because I was very surprised by the disparity between the 2 bids that we got. The low bid, which like I said was I think $70,000 over the base, and we're talking $1.2 million, $1.4 million
Yep.
on the construction. The next bid was 40% higher than that. I mean, it was significantly higher. So, are we putting the chicken before the egg here, Barry? You could make an argument that we are, but we're not committing to any of this $145,000 if we never execute the, grant and put in the sidewalks.
Okay, I just wondered if it was unnecessary thing to do since we haven't decided whether we're gonna rebid or not.
Yes.
So you're saying, Jeff, that this is a 4-month project, Chris?
A what?
A 4-month project, the duration of the
Yes,
project?
that's based on their estimate, it's about 4 months.
So their price to do the inspection of a 4-month project is $145,000. Could you just roughly detail what this inspection process entails for $145,000?
It's providing full-time inspection, it's taking care of the payment requisitions, they do all the reporting and quantity takeoffs. The state has a very detailed requirements that everything be verified that it meets specifications and that it's all part of the construction operations and safety. The traffic control on Ridge Road
Right.
is probably $100,000 unto itself.
Okay.
I'm not opposed to this, it just seems a little odd that this is the second item that we will be rewarding a contract of an estimated budget amount. I don't recall ever doing that before. I just normally, when we awarded contracts, there was the amount and not to exceed the amount. There was, the word estimated was never anywhere in it that I recall. Just seems odd.
You were going to change it to not to exceed.
Yeah, I hope
Mine says estimate, does not say not to exceed.
No, that's what he mentioned earlier tonight. That's why I thought I'd bring that up.
Yeah, I know on the
Well,
last one.
and Barry brings up a good point, and I just wanted to follow up with a question with respect to the $145,000. Do they base their bid price on what the overall project cost is?
It's not usually a fixed percentage. It's going to be based on how many people they think they need over the length of the project, and because of its roughly about 1.5 miles long of work.
Okay.
But no, I have a lengthy worksheet that shows how they came up with their not to exceed number.
John, I gotta tell you, I wondered the same thing, and I mean, it's not an exact analysis, but the amount of money that the engineering is gonna be on the Ready project is $360 on a $2.8 million.
Right.
And this is about $1.5 million, and it's $145,000, so it's about, not quite a third of the engineering cost, as opposed to half of the contract cost, but a totally different scope of services by the engineer.
Right.
I would think. So,
We were talking in the resolution about the numbers, and for those people that are at home, that number may seem quite high, so I just thought it'd be nice to give some clarity as to what they're paying for with respect to the engineering services surrounding that $145,000.
Good idea.
I would be interested in what Councilman Abbott's thoughts on this are. He's had a lot of experience in this area.
I'm sorry, Councilman Abbott?
Yes.
Yeah. Barry, I would move this forward on a not to exceed basis of the $145,000 for inspection services. They're going to be out there 8 hours a day or 9 hours a day. One guy. Yep. So
It probably will be.
if they have multiple sites working, it could be 3 guys. I would just say not to exceed. Yeah, I just wondered if you were comfortable with it. I'm very comfortable with it. I'd like to move this project forward, to be honest with you. Okay. Been 3 years trying to get sidewalks out there.
Like I said,
Yeah.
long before I showed up, this board was working their tail off to get these sidewalks, and Bill, I mean, because of your background, I mean, and Jeff, I'll ask you this, how do we do competitive bidding on engineering firms, or is it more like an engineering firm starts out assisting on a project and then we're kind of married to them to what their bid is?
You never have to take them for the construction inspection. It's just that they're more familiar with the job. They've done the plans, they've done the estimating. It's better to hold their feet to the fire because they're the ones that came up with the numbers. The percentages are around 20%. That's pretty typical in construction industry, especially highway work, because you do have maintenance of traffic. You've got, if school was in session, that'd become a factor as well. So I think they're in, and I questioned all their numbers, so they justified them to me, and I felt comfortable.
Okay. Well, I certainly agree.
I couldn't hear a thing of what Jeff said, but I know in the past what we've done is RFP to different engineering firms, and that's how in the past how we selected. But
Well, let's see, how is submitted.
Professional engineering services are usually
Well,
not required to be, but in the past, we have gotten other pricing, just to,
They were
as a-
engage them
to keep them honest.
for an amount not to exceed.
it could just be a flash in time, and I've only been here 3 months, but the town has a lot of projects in with Barton and LaJudas. And I know it's something that has been discussed, even in my 3 months, is we need to start expanding out to get other, and the town has used other engineering firms in the past. It's not as though Barton will do. So, yeah.
Yep.
So Charlie, is it just as simple as saying that this is not to exceed $140,000?
That's what I would recommend.
Yes.
Mr. Benway, there's no problem with that happening, correct?
No, in fact, they said that
So
was
I would
the
say,
cap.
I would say that the motion would be that the town of Webster wishes to engage Barton LaJudas PLLC to complete the construction services for the project awarded by the New York State Department of Transportation in an amount not to exceed $145,000 for the construction inspection, for construction inspection services.
That's fine.
Well, I make a motion for that.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi?
Aye.
Now, there's one last thing on the formal agenda that was added late, and I certainly this might have some discussion or questions from the board members, but I'd like to make a motion to have Charles Stiles appointed to the Board of Assessment Review. Before I make
I
it,
move that we appoint.
nope. My succinct teacher.
Is it reappointed?
His term ended.
That's correct. His term ended, and we were not sure if he would accept a new term. And we've talked to him, and he would like to serve again. So I would recommend that we appoint Charles Stiles to a full term, commencing in 2020.
I would second that.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye. That, ladies and
Before
gentlemen.
you,
Pardon?
sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
I just wanted to thank Mr. Stiles, who is also my neighbor, for offering his services and his expertise. He's been active in town government and village government for many decades, and we greatly appreciate Mr. Stiles coming forward.
Well, I'd like to add that having been attorney to the Board of Assessment Review, I'd also confirm what you just said, but also Mr. Stiles had been the chairman of that board for a number of years as well as a member. And I'm going back approximately 2 decades. I know he's been involved in the Board of Assessment Review as a member or chairman, so he will be a welcome addition back on the board.
He sure was a consummate professional. He'll be an asset, believe me.
Now, if we can just figure out how we're gonna do the grievance day, the fourth Tuesday
Yes.
of May, and however many days it takes. Will it be the world to open back up, or will it be remote? Stay tuned.
No comment on that one.
Yeah, we posted on Facebook about this meeting tonight, that you could call in, and that you could also email in. I don't have any emails yet. And I am pretty certain we don't have the 872-7011 line on Do Not Disturb. So, we'll give it a minute or two here. Usually I get a chance to look down and see Councilman Abbott's water, and if his 16-ounce water... Is it empty, Bill? All right.
He told me you better ask him if that's water or not.
You know what?
You know he's coming.
Oh, man, sure it's not water.
The man can have whatever he wants in his house.
I wonder if he's got his mask on, though.
Well, I will... Bill will have you out of here before you can say lickety split if we don't get any calls. We will, but I think we can all agree that this is just a very unusual time. And
Well, thank you to Karen and Steve again for their expertise and the amount of hours that they put in to make this happen tonight for our customers and for the board members, and greatly appreciate it. They've been working very, very diligently, long hours, weekends, as most of our department heads have. So it's greatly appreciated. Tom, do you want me to call in on my cell
I was
phone?
going to say,
Feel lonely?
I will. That's what it is. I don't want to dissuade people from calling in, but this is usually. I go back to the old Carol Burnett show. Should I start singing that it was great to have this time together? But usually we go around to each board member, and do you have anything you want to say? John, have you already said what you have to say?
Yes.
Okay. Patty?
I don't really have much to add. I couldn't hear what John said, but I want to thank all of our department heads and all those who were instrumental in getting all the information to us so that we could actually do this remotely. We don't have our folders in front of us, but I received all the information I needed for tonight's meeting in a very timely manner, and I want to thank everybody for that.
Bill?
I just had to keep scanning back and forth on my iPad to get all the resolutions, but I'm all set.
All right. Barry?
I have nothing to add. Barry said it all.
Okay. Well, like I said, because of some things I think it's going to be important for the board to discuss sooner or later, I will try to get out to the board tomorrow, tentative proposed discussion topics for a workshop next Thursday at 5:30. Similar structure to this, probably call in and all that. But I'll get with Karen to figure out how we handle that, because we don't televise workshops. They're a little bit more informal. They're kind of nice to have the public come in. The public can't come in to the room, so we'll see. But on that note, this concludes tonight's meeting. Thank you.